We have some NHL signings to discuss today, including a few top prospects from the 2019 NHL Draft signing their entry-level contracts, and by far the best bargain contract signed so far in free agency by the San Jose Sharks. We'll get into all that coming up next. Welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have some signings to discuss here today. We have a variety here. We have some free agent signings, some RFAs, and some entry-level deals here. So I wanted to get started with San Jose signing RFA forward Kevin Labanc to a one-year contract at $1 million. I don't understand how Doug Wilson managed to pull this off. Two of the bigger names for RFAs that they had to sign here was Labanc and Timo Meier. Of course, they signed Erik Karlsson to that mega extension. Joe Pavelski ended up walking in free agency, going to Dallas because they wouldn't give him the term that he was looking for. They still hopefully want to bring back Joe Thornton, I think, for on a one-year deal. But based on what Timo Meier got, now he got a $6 million contract, obviously longer term for 4 years, but I don't understand how Labanc and his group agreed to a one-year deal here at $1 million. Like, he's a pretty valuable player. He put up 56 points last year. He put up 40 points the year before that. He was pretty solid in the playoffs for them as well. Basically, if you look at Meier making $6 million and Labanc making $1 million, would you say that Timo Meier is 6 times better than Labanc? I hardly think so. I mean, Timo Meier's a terrific hockey player. He's a little younger, a little bit more established on the goal-scoring side of things. And I did expect him to get more money than Labanc, but I certainly did not think it would be drastic like this. Like, this is an incredible signing. I just did a video the other day talking about the best value contracts here in the NHL Free Agency so far, and I kind of wish I had waited because I would have put this one at number 1 for sure. Labanc is a solid young forward here with a lot of upside, and he still has not peaked yet. This is an incredible deal for the San Jose Sharks. Now, in case you've never heard the story, Doug Wilson has a nickname that many people around the NHL call him, and they call him the Dentist. And I've heard Elliot Friedman tell the story on his podcast, and they call him the Dentist because when he's negotiating with you, he gets you in the chair and just grinds away at you, all the tools a dentist use until he gets what he wants. And he's quite the negotiator, apparently, so we've been told. So ultimately, this is an incredible deal. I'm just dumbfounded here for words. One-year deal, $1 million for Kevin Labanc in the San Jose Sharks. So that's certainly going to help drastically here with their overall salary cap situation. We'll see what he can do, and I would really hope that they would agree to a longer-term, much bigger contract next year. They must have some kind of verbal agreement in place here to get paid more later or something, because this is just way too good of a deal. Usually when they say something's too good to be true, it generally is. Well, I guess we can't say that for sure in this case, but there must be something here that they've got worked out for the future. But either way, an incredible signing for the San Jose Sharks. Now we have a couple of entry-level deals to discuss here as well. As I had mentioned, the number 3 overall pick, Kirby Dach from the WHL Saskatoon Blades, has signed his 3-year entry-level contract here with the Chicago Blackhawks. Of course, it was a little bit of a surprise that they chose Dach. Heading into the day of the draft, there was some rumblings that with that number 3 selection, that's who the Blackhawks were going to be selecting. Many people thought they would go with the top defenseman, Bowen Byram. There was some general consensus as well out there, thinking it might be Alex Turcotte. I know I was kind of leaning towards Turcotte or Byram myself. I kind of had Dach going probably 5-6, but obviously the big center iceman from the WHL kind of fits what they're looking for, and he is going to be a terrific hockey player as well. So he's all signed up, and also you get the Arizona Coyotes, who kind of went off the board here and were really in love with the defenseman, and they selected Victor Soderstrom, the Swedish defenseman who many of us had pegged to go probably middle of the first round, maybe even a little bit further down the first round. I wasn't really sure when I was doing my mock drafts where to put him. I really kind of thought his ceiling for going up higher in the draft was probably somewheres maybe 10 to 15, but I thought that was kind of pushing it. Probably somewhere maybe 15 to 20 is kind of what I had, but Arizona took him much, much higher. The Coyotes ended up picking in the number 11 spot, and they were very, very happy to grab Soderstrom. According to information from John Chayka, they had him ranked number 3, which I found incredibly surprising amongst all the other skaters that were higher up. When you look at Dach and Byram and Turcotte, Dylan Cousins, a lot of these other top forwards in the group, even like Cole Caulfield, Matthew Boldy, Trevor Zegras. I'm dumbfounded here to think that they had him as the 3rd best prospect in the entire draft. They just seem to be absolutely in love with this prospect, and really, I hope that it works out for them. I mean, he does have some good tools and likely could project here to be a great young defenseman for the Coyotes. Now, of course, this still has a European assignment clause in it as well, so it's not a given that he comes over to North America. He very well could play in Sweden next year. Wouldn't be totally surprising. Knowing the Coyotes, though, and how much they love this guy, wouldn't be surprising to see him originally make the team at a camp and get in a few games of NHL experience just to kind of test the waters before they assign him over to where he'll finish the year. Like I said, likely going to be back in Sweden, but I don't have confirmation on that here at this time. The St. Louis Blues have re-signed forward Zach Sanford on a 2-year contract at $1.5 million. Zach Sanford certainly proved to be very valuable to them down the stretch, had a pretty good playoff run. He's certainly battled a lot of injuries here over the last few years as well. But the restricted free agent forward has come to terms here with the Blues avoiding salary arbitration and getting a 2-year contract here in place. Now, I kind of can't help but wonder here if that money might squeeze out Patrick Maroon. Obviously, Maroon's not going to be making a ton of money, but I know that there's been enough reports, and we've talked about it in other videos, that Maroon may not be back in St. Louis because of all the contracts they have to do. They may not be able to squeeze him in until it gets negotiated and announced. We don't know how much Jordan Binnington's new contract is going to take up, and after him going on his historical run here all the way to the Cup Finals and winning the Stanley Cup, I can't imagine that it's going to be anything too cheap here. So ultimately, that's going to probably squeeze out some players, and then you get Sanford, which is kind of similar type of money, and he can play a similar type of role that Maroon plays as well. So we've even seen in the playoffs where he moved up and played on O'Reilly's line at times as well, and actually didn't do too bad. I know there are some fans who were kind of on the fence about this one because Sanford didn't have the best regular season, but he did okay. Like as time went on, to kind of prove more valuable here. But they do like his game. Obviously, they feel like he can contribute. The key thing for him moving forward is going to be to stay healthy and see if he can keep his spot here in the Blues lineup. The Tampa Bay Lightning have signed forward Jamel Smith to a 1-year contract at $700,000. I know this was a little bit confusing. I'm not sure why they were trying to add more depth. They got all kinds of forwards. They got lots of great prospects, but I really can't see Jamel Smith getting much of an opportunity at the NHL level with Tampa. More likely plays for their American Hockey League affiliate. I'm not really sure they really needed another guy, but obviously maybe they felt with what they have for prospects, they wanted some more experience for their minor league teams, but they certainly have a lot of players who can kind of go up and down here. Younger players looking to get an opportunity at the NHL, trying to get some more ice time at the pro level here. So I guess we'll see what they do. A little bit confusing why they grabbed Jamel Smith, but confusing on his part as well, because I just don't see him getting much of an opportunity. I mean, he spent a few years with Dallas, was traded to Boston, didn't really fit in there, and just not really sure that he's going to get much more of an opportunity at the NHL. So it's kind of odd how he'd go to a team that's so stacked like Tampa and not to a team that's kind of going through a rebuild where he might be able to play himself into more of a steady role if he does well enough. The Colorado Avalanche have signed restricted free agent defenseman Ryan Graves to a 1-year contract extension as well. The value of that contract at the NHL level is $735,000, but he has mostly been a minor leaguer so far in his pro career. He spent the better parts of 4 seasons in the American Hockey League. He did get into 26 games last year with the Avalanche, so I guess we'll see, but they do have a very deep blue line with a lot of young prospects that would certainly rank ahead of him on the depth chart, so I'm not really sure that he's going to get into a ton of action, but we'll see. He'll remain with the organization here. Couldn't go down to the American Hockey League if necessary. Can certainly be a call-up option at the very least for them, but they're going to keep him around here in the organization for 1 more year and see how things go. The Florida Panthers have signed a defenseman from the University of Vermont, Jake Massey, who was a college free agent, basically. He was originally drafted a number of years ago by the Carolina Hurricanes, but never signed, so they lost his signing rights. He became a free agent and has now signed a 2-year entry-level contract here with the Florida Panthers. He played 3 full years at the University of Vermont, so I guess we'll see here when he makes the jump to pro hockey where he ends up. Pretty good chance he probably starts in the minors in the American Hockey League, but the Florida Panthers are certainly looking to make some more adjustments here to their blue line moving forward, I do think. Obviously, their forward group is pretty well stacked. They get their goaltending situation sorted out in free agency. They've already made some adjustments to their blue line here through free agency as well. So I guess we'll see if he can find a spot, but I think more than likely he's going to be more of a depth player that goes down to the American Hockey League and might get an opportunity due to injury or something and be a call-up option for the Panthers. So that is all your latest NHL signings here for now. We do expect to have quite a bit more. There's still all kinds of RFAs that are outstanding, more entry-level contracts coming for a lot of the newer prospects just drafted here in the 2019 NHL Draft. We'll see what happens here, but there should be lots more signings to report in the coming coming days, so stay tuned to Top Shelf Hockey. I'll keep you all up to date with all the latest news. Now, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing as well. You're going to see a round subscribe icon on your screen right here. Click that so you don't miss any future videos, and turn on the notifications so you're notified every time I put out new content, which is certainly daily, oftentimes 2 to 3 videos per day. Also, if you haven't caught my latest video discussing all the latest NHL trade rumors, I'll put a playlist over here with our last few videos so you can get all up to date for all potential deals you might see coming here over the off season. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.